Hello, welcome to the Closers Code. I'm absolutely delighted you've decided to invest and purchase this product. I'm John Daniels, and over the next 60 minutes or so I'm going to share with you what I believe is the most important part as a sales professional you need to know, and it's about how do you get that close. What is the code that is going to turn you into the top gun, top 20% salesperson in your organisation if you're a sales professional, or if you're a business owner and you need to learn how to sell. This is the secret. This is what I've learned since 1999 in a professional career of sales, that's going to enable you to copy and implement these strategies straight away into your business or into your daily work plan if you're a sales rep, and it's going to enable you to basically close more deals. And if you close more deals, at the end of the day you're going to earn more money, be it through commission or through your own business, and that's the goal. That's what you want to do. And so I want you to enjoy doing it. I mean, this is your career. This is what you've got to do. This is what's going to put food on the table for you. This is what's going to buy you your house, your car, your nice holidays, look after your kids. And it's just so important that you learn how to do this correctly, because ultimately that's what's going to make it more enjoyable for you, instead of you sitting there stressing about where your next sale is going to come from, or stressing over how you're going to pay the bills next month. Well, let's eliminate all of that. Let's get this sorted, and that's what this Closers Code's all about. So I'm absolutely delighted that you've decided to join me here on this, and say over the next hour or so we're really going to get stuck into this, and I'm going to give you a complete map of how to close deals. So you want more sales over the phone. So what I've promised you is you're going to discover how you can double, triple, or even quadruple your sales using this time-tested phone closing cheat sheet. That's exactly what I'm going to unveil to you right now. And you bought this product, you can watch it as many times as you want. That's fantastic. Further below on here, sorry, tongue-tied there, you've also got the option to send me an email, and I'll give you some live support as well. So if you've got any questions after you've gone through this training, I'm happy to follow up, because I really believe in what I'm doing here, and I genuinely do want to help you. That's what it's all about for me. So afterwards, once you've done the course, you've implemented how to go, please do drop me an email and let me know how you get on. I'd love to hear from you, because I'll give you any extra support you need to really make sure you implement the Closers Code into whatever it is you need to in your career. So, just quickly before we get stuck into the main feed of this presentation, is just some house rules. So, I want you to play full out. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to do something and you're going to invest the next hour of your life into this, invest an hour with full concentration. Give me your full attention, and get ready to be prepared to take action at the end of it. Take the learnings away. And if you watch this the first time, take at least one thing away and go implement it, take action on it, and then watch it again and take other learnings, and keep going until you've really got this really down into your pitch, into how you work every day. If you could turn off any distractions, so if you are sitting at your computer, turn off your phone, turn off your iPad, whatever you're not watching it on, close Facebook down, close down any messenger services you've got, and just make sure that you are playing full out and you're giving me your full attention on this. Grab a notepad and pen, and when I say something that really resonates with you or gives you an idea, make a note of it, because I'm going to be throwing a lot at you over the next hour. And again, you can watch this as many times as you want, but what's really important is the action you take at the end of it. So do make notes and write down things that you want to go implement straight away, because as I said, you can listen to this again and again. That's the beauty of this product, and each time you're going to learn more. But what's really important is you do make those notes to take away from you. And finally, also make sure you've got a glass of water with you, or a bottle of water, because water is really important to keep your brain working. As we know, we dehydrate as humans, and that makes us suffer. So make sure that you've got a glass of water, and just keep making sure you take some of that while you're watching this. Keep your body hydrated, keep yourself going, because that's going to help your concentration levels and make sure you're really learning. Okay, so let's get stuck into the Closers Code. So before we begin, I just want to take you a bit back to my childhood, and here there's a picture here of a golf course hole, and this is the famous number 7 golf course hole in Valdelova down in Faro in Portugal, and this is where I got to spend a lot of time growing up. And there was a lesson in my life that I reflect on now that really helped me, that I got to go here a lot when I was a youngster because my stepdad had a place out here, and we got to go out and spend lovely summers out here. And my stepdad was a big golfer. I was never a big fan, but finally he managed to convince me to get me to go caddying with him. Admittedly, I didn't go because of the love of golf. I went because I got to drive a nice golf car around, which seemed like fun, particularly after a few beers and the night before. That's what I was on holiday for. It was good to go drive the buggy, and it got me outside during the day instead of sleeping all day, so he was happy as well. My mum was happy. But what was really important looking back is that my stepdad was a good businessman in his own right, and I learned some lessons from him from golf. Now I don't play golf today. I'm going to put my hands up and say that I'm not a big golf fan, but what I did learn is some lessons that were very relevant to sales from here. Because when I started watching him, I'd say, Peter, tell me what you're doing when you're playing golf, and he'd say to me, well, the most important thing is being able to putt the ball. When you're on the green, you've got to be able to putt the ball, because that's what gives you the score. That's what means, that's when you get your score for the hole that enables you to carry on going around the course, and you want to get the best score you can, but you've got to be able to putt. You've got to be able to put that ball in the hole. And then he would say other things. It's like, but obviously you've got to get onto the green first. So, you would take a tee shot, and he said in an ideal world you'd take your tee shot and the ball go straight in the hole. Job done. But the reality is it would often take, at least one shot, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 shots, depending on the par of the course, to actually get to the green in the first place in order to putt. So, what he would then go on and say is, so you take your tee shot, and then the ball could land anywhere, and it could land on the green, ideally. That gives you a straight line to the next hole, or it may land in the rough, which is a bit more of a difficult shot, or it may land in a bunker, which is a really difficult shot to take. But the skill is wherever that ball lands, is how do you get yourself back on course, to get yourself back to the green, to putt the ball, to get the par that you want, or the best possible score you want. And as we're going round, after I got more and more used to what he was doing, he would start saying to me, the ball's landed here, which club would you use? What would you do to get yourself as the next shot? And, I'd take that away and I'd be able to help him. I became his caddy. And, that was good. And I look back now, having had a career in sales over the last, since 1999, bear in mind this was the mid-90s, I really can relate my career in sales back to this, because the putting is the most important thing in sales as well. If you can't close, if you can't putt, if you can't put that deal home, if you can't put the ball in the hole, you haven't got anything. It doesn't matter how good you are at getting to the green. If you cannot putt, then you never make a sale, and that's when you're not going to hit your target, and that's when it's going to financially hurt you. You've got to be able to close. It's the most important part in the sales process. But when you work in sales, the ball doesn't always land on the green. It doesn't mean that you just pick a phone up and take that final putt and putt the ball. You've got to get the ball to the green, and you've got to learn how to play the ball where it lies to get it to the green in order to close. And that's what the closer's code's all about. That's what I've realised, that closing is the most important thing in putting the ball, but you can only close provided you got yourself into the right position to close in the first place. And that's where this closer's code comes from. So, over my career, I've been working in sales since 1999. It wasn't a planned career, but hey, it went really well for me when I got into it. I've noticed there's 3 things that I always stand by. I look back as a sales leader now, that there's 3 things always going on for me whenever I'm reading articles, whenever I'm working with salespeople, no matter what I'm doing. I'm always looking at, is the mindset of the person right? That's 50% of the job in sales, that the mindset has to be correct. But the second thing is, it doesn't matter if you've got someone who's got the right mindset, are you letting them follow the right structure? Have you given them a model to follow that gives them the best chances of success? That what works, that if it worked for the other top 20%, how do you take this person with a great mindset and put them into the same structure that gives them the same chances of success? And then the final part is salesmanship, where there is an art to sales. If you think, if we took a professional football player, a soccer player, if you're in the US, they don't just turn up at a field on a Saturday afternoon and suddenly become the best player. It's the hours and hours they've invested to become great football players, and that's what you need as a salesperson. You've always got to be learning and growing, and investing in yourself, doing the training, putting in those extra hours. Again, another example of the Beatles that Malcolm Gladwell talks about in one of his books is that, you know, the Beatles were a very bad band, and they went over to Germany where they ended up playing for hours and hours and hours on end for months, and they put in so much time. By the time they came back from playing out in Germany, they become this fantastic band. And it wasn't just because they, you know, had this natural talent come together, it's just that they put so much effort into honing their art that they became this world's biggest band in the Beatles. Look at David Beckham, the hours that guy invested into himself to become a top footballer that he was. And as salespeople, you have to do the same. You have to invest into your art. So it's really important you've got that great mindset where you know what you're doing. You're following the best practice in the structure, but you're constantly learning and investing in yourself. And that's why I'm really delighted that you decided to buy this program, because I really honestly believe that this is going to help you massively as well. So, walk down memory lane for me here. Here's a picture of me back in 2006, and here's me winning an award with, I've got Sir Roy Gardner there, and I've got Joanna Lumley. And I won an award for being Employee of the Year for the company I was working for at that time, out of 40,000 people. You know, I was pretty damn impressed with myself at the time. That was a VIP weekend out in Paris. Got to do all the things in Paris, as you know, VIP. You didn't have to queue for anything. Got chauffeur driven everywhere. Pretty amazing experience in my life. And again, you know, that's what a great career can give you, is these things. But I also look back at this, that I should look at that picture and think that was one of the greatest points in my career. And I look at that and actually realise that's the point where I changed. Back in 2006, I've been selling for about 7 years at that point. And I had some natural talent that got me through my career, but I never really stopped to look at myself. And what happened is, after winning this award, I went back to the job, and you know, I did go in with a bit of a big ego attitude, having won the award. And I'd realised all that I'd done is it actually, you know, people weren't coming to sing my praises or anything like that. What people were doing were actually, it put a big bullseye on me, where people wanted to start challenging what I was doing a bit more. They wanted to know, you know, oh great, well, if you can do it, get us all doing it. And I really struggled at that point, because I'd only ever really had to look after myself up until that point. I hadn't really had to think about, well, how do I take what I'm doing and train other people on how to do it? How do I teach other people how to be good salespeople? So this was, you know, back in 2006, when I really started investing in myself, and I started looking at the science of selling, you know, what makes a top salesperson. I started looking at what are the things I do really well, but what also were the things I could learn from others, you know. So I started sitting with the other top 20% performers, and I started learning from them as well, and I started taking action off of what they were doing. I'd sit with the bad reps and start looking at what they were doing and trying to understand, well, why is it that it's not working for them? And I came up with these systems that really enabled me to understand what was going on in my own thought processes at the time. But also, what was really great is it enabled me to get into coaching and helping poor performers become great performers, but at the same time also helping top performers start understanding why is it they were so good. And it just enabled me to build this wealth of knowledge and experience in my art of sales. You know, I learned back then as well, 2006, I had a really great manager, a guy called Phil at the time, and he said to me then, he said, John, if there's one thing I'd recommend to you, is learn one thing a day about what you do. And since 2006, every day, Monday to Friday, without fail, be it read a chapter of a book, watch a video on YouTube, speak to someone who's a master of the art of sales, is I've learned one thing that I've gone and taken action for and implemented. And that's what's really helped my career continue to grow. Where we are now, you know, several years later, I've been working in sales for now coming up to 16, 17 years now. It's made me be a really strong sales leader, because I can really help people, and I genuinely love helping people. And what it enabled me to come back is, you know, since 2006, I came up with what I called the 6 pillars of sales success, where there's these 6 boxes that you follow, and that's what enables you to close deals successfully, get delighted customers, allows you to forecast properly, it allows you to plan your own success. And as I've gone on, I've honed this, and I've now actually called this the Closer's Code. And I'm going to share this now with you of what the Closer's Code actually is, because this is something that if you go implement it into what you're going to do straight away, your success levels are going to dramatically improve. You know, this is a system that has enabled me in a career. You know, I've now managed over 300 salespeople, and that's growing. You know, I've seen the best, I've seen the worst, I've seen the worst become the best, I've seen the best go on and be even stronger into other roles, into other careers. I've seen it, done it, got the t-shirt. I've walked my own walk with this. Walked my own talk with this. Where, you know, on own level, I've sold deals for $50 a month. I've sold a deal for $9 million in my career. I think if you added all my deals together for all the teams I've managed as well, I think I'm at over $300 million in revenue in terms of deals closed. And for the second half of my career, or you know, from 2006 onwards, it's been very much around this closers code, about what's worked and why it works, because I just follow this religiously. I have a success system that gives me money at the end of it, and that's why I love working in sales. I get the results that I want, and I earn the money that reflects the effort I put into it. So let's begin where I'm going to start on now revealing to you what the 6 steps of the closers code actually is. So the last step is obviously close, putting the ball. You've got the ball to the green, you've got to putt it. But we've got to look at, well, how do you get the ball to the green? What's the shot before that? Well, you've got to look at the offers that you're making people. What are you doing that means that your chances of getting the putt and the ball landing on the green dramatically increase? You know, what are you doing at the offer stage? To get to the offer stage, well, what have you done to build value with your customer? How have you actually built the value so you've given them something that is just, they have to have it? How have you done this? What have you done and discussed with them where buying from you makes complete sense? There isn't an alternative, that the deal is going to be a done deal. Well, before you know that you want to get into that where you've built the value with the right person, you've got to find out that you are actually dealing with the right person, the right company, and you've actually qualified them correctly. Because if you haven't done that, well, you know, you can't sell to someone who doesn't need what you want to sell to them. You've got to make sure that you're dealing with the right people in the first place. And in order to find out if you're dealing with right people in the first place, you've got to have people to find. You've got to go prospecting. You've actually got to go find these people to make sure that you've got a pipeline there to qualify, to build value with, to make offers and then close. And that's tough. This isn't easy. It's a tough job. But if you're following a system where you're going from box to box the whole time, where you're just going along each step, then you know that you're going to end up being successful at the end of it. But what makes the difference is the motive that starts it all off. If you're not motivated at what you're doing, if you're not speaking to everyone with absolute 10 out of 10 excitement, why the hell is anyone going to buy from you? If you don't honestly sound like you're enjoying what you're doing and believing what you're doing, no one's going to buy from you. Because at the end of the day, that's what people do, is they buy from people they know, like and trust. And if they trust you, it's because they think that they believe what you're saying to them is perfectly true. So that's what you've got to make sure you're doing. So there you have it. You've got this whole closers code. You've got to go in 10 out of 10 motivated, excited. You've got to be prepared to go and prospect and speak to lots of people in order to qualify, to find out who are the right people that actually want to buy from you. When you find them, you've got to build the value correctly so they absolutely do want to buy from you. You've got to make sure you put the right offer on the table that matches everything you've discussed, so you can then go and putt the ball, make the money and close the deal. So there you go, the closers code, a very simple system that you can follow, and you can just sit there and, you know, in a later video you've got down there, you've got me demonstrate the actual closers code cheat sheet that you can go and do this with, and I'll give you examples of where I've used it in my career, and that is what you need to start doing. Now, as I said, I've managed over 300 people. I've sold very small deals, I've sold multi-million-dollar deals, and you know, I've done it with some big name companies. You can see there's some of the companies that I've worked with in what I'm doing throughout my career. You know, fantastic experiences from selling car paint to energy solutions to hospitality solutions. You know, very different markets, very different ideas of solutions, but the closers code is applied to all of them, and it's allowed me to sell in whatever I've ended up doing. So let's talk about the first step in the closers code. So motivation, for me, this is actually 50% of the job. The motive for why you're doing this every day. You've got to come in sales. It's not a job you can hide. Your results are everything. and it's your results that get you paid. If you can't close, you do not make money, and it's as simple as that. You've got to come in with this very selfish mindset, this very selfish motivation that allows you to overcome any of the negativity of others, because in a sales floor there is going to be people, there's going to be negativity all around you. If you're a business owner, you speak to other business owners who aren't doing too well, there's going to be negativity everywhere. And what's really important is you have to put your shield up to protect yourself from that, because you've got to remember, these people do not care about you. As much as they may sound, is what they're actually trying to do is justify to themselves why they're not being successful. And you have to be able to put your shield up to protect yourself from that, because these people do not care about you. And you hear all these bullshit excuses like, oh, there's no money at the moment, people aren't spending, nobody buys at this time of year. It's all complete rubbish. The only thing that's stopping you from being successful is you. You've got to have the right mindset that prepares you to come in and be excited at what you're doing, being prepared to smash the numbers that you need to do. You've got to be excited, you've got to be playing full out, you've got to be 10 out of 10. And if you're not willing to do this, then every other step in this closers code process is going to be 10 times harder. Because as I said before, people buy from people they know, like and trust. And if you're not putting that energy in up front, people aren't going to believe you. You know, everyone you speak to has to genuinely believe you want to help them. They've got to hear that you believe in what you're doing. And they've got to understand that you understand who this is helping, that why you're talking to them is really going to help them realise the value of what you can do to help them in what you're selling. You've got to be consistent in your behaviour of achievement. You've got to be doing the right things every day, whether it's spending 6-7 hours on the phone a day, whether it's 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever the number is for your industry. How many unique prospects do you need to speak to a day? What is it you need to do in order to hit your target and make your money? You know, you've got to be absolutely 100% unashamed about promoting to yourself to your prospects, because you've got to know it's your duty and your obligation. It's completely your responsibility in what you're selling. And the more you do these things, the more you believe in what you're doing, the more you understand who it helps, the more you realise the value of what you're doing, the more consistent you are in your behaviours, the less unashamed you are about promoting yourselves, and the more you know this is your duty, the more you actually genuinely end up helping people. And it's when you help people, you help your prospects become customers to help them solve the problems, the issues, help them achieve the goals that they want. That's when you're going to get paid. And that's when you're going to get paid really well for it. So, you know, for me, motivation in sales is absolutely the biggest issue. I'd say in a lot of the coaching I've done in my career, without fail, this is one where I spend a lot of time. Before, you know, people come in and say, oh, I want to learn how to close more. And, you know, well, I say they come in, I want to close more. Actually, it's like, well, tell me what your problem is. And they're like, oh, I want to close more. And they're really down, you know, all my results suck, I can't do this. If they're not even excited about what they're doing, why is anyone going to buy from them? You've got to make sure that you understand how to be 10 out of 10, super excited every day, being prepared to unashamedly promote what it is you're selling. You are the best person to buy it from. You know what you're talking about. It's all this value realization that comes from just realizing that people are buying the confidence that you sell them. You know, people want something, they will find the money to do it. People love spending money. People always will be prepared to spend money. You know, people spend money on water, bottles of water every day. Water's free from a tap in most countries, yet it's a multi-billion-dollar industry where people buy bottled water. Just think about that. And there's a problem in the economy at the moment. You know, people, I see it all the time, coming into offices, they're drinking their posh coffees they've gone and bought. Hell, for the price of one posh coffee that you buy from a retailer, you could probably have 20 your own if you went and bought the jar yourself. But people will buy something if they really want it. It doesn't matter if they've got no money. You know, people tell me, you know, look at things like people that are smoking. Oh yeah, I haven't got enough money yet, I smoke. It's like, smoking's really expensive, yet they find a way to do it because it's what they want. And you've got to understand is that the biggest thing people are actually scared of is making a mistake. They're not actually scared of spending money. They're scared of making a mistake. And the more confident you are in what you sound, the more you're mitigating against that fear of making a mistake. So you can understand why I see this is so important, that you keep yourself fully motivated 10 out of 10 at what you're doing, because it's that is going to be a key start to the process. It's you're phoning up, and if you're not excited when you get on that phone to that person, then how many calls do you think they take a day? You know, they just want to hear from someone who's a bit different, who brightens their day up somewhat. They don't want to speak to the same person who just then starts pitching down the phone going, hey, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. They're not interested. They want to hear from someone who brightens up their day, gives them something different to do, makes it memorable, because purely on those bases they're more likely to buy from you just purely because they like you. And you've got to be able to do that. If you're not super excited about what you're selling, then where's that reaction going to come from? You're not going to get it. And that's what I mean, why you're going to make everything else you do afterwards 10 times harder. So we move on to the next step of prospecting. And prospecting is a big thing in the modern sales world, because you hear all these people going on about, social media selling, blah blah blah. Oh, I'm sending emails out, and what kind of response rate do I get? No, look, if you're working in sales, over the phone you want to get that person on the phone, because you're more likely to get the decision you need of whether you're going to get a quick deal, whether you're going to invest your time, or whether you're going to ditch it because this isn't the right person to speak to. You've got to be prepared to get on with the cold calling in a very structured manner, where you know that what you're trying to do is to find the people who are interested in hearing more from you. You're not going to buy from you straight away. You're looking for the people who will have an appointment with you to hear from you, to discuss in more detail, more seriously about what's going on. Cold calling isn't about phoning up and saying, hey, buy my stuff. If it does, you're going to have a life of rejection, of a lot of no's with the occasional lucky yes. You need to be a lot more structured than that in what you're doing. But what is really important in prospecting is you've got to understand how many new people a day do you need to speak to in order to get a sale once a day. And now that doesn't mean that you're going to make a sale off the people you're calling that day. This is about consistent behaviours. That if you make 20 good cold calls a day where you get through, will that lead to one sale for you at some point in the future? Because if you know that 20 will lead to one sale, you can start working out your metrics. So there is a bonus video below called Metric Magic that goes into that in more detail. I really encourage you to make sure you get your head around that and understand it. But what you're looking at is, if one sale means that you have to put 3 offers on the table, and to put 3 offers on the table you have to have 5 qualified appointments, and to get 5 qualified appointments you have to do 20 cold calls, well, there you know what you need to do on a daily basis. So there is actually a science, there is actually a mathematical formula behind it, and something you need to make sure that you're doing, and you make sure you implement. Prospecting is something you need to do if you want to be a top successful salesperson. You can't avoid it, you can't take shortcuts. Sending emails is not going to work now. How many times do people read an email and just delete, or don't even bother anymore? Ends up in a spam folder. How many emails do you get a day that you're actually interested in reading? Very little these days. Don't rely on email. Don't just think, I've done some Twitter, or I've done some Facebook, I've done some LinkedIn. It doesn't matter. You've got to have a system of what's going on with all of that means that you get genuine qualified leads out of it. So great, you've been doing your cold calling, you've got that hammered in now, but what's really important is a lot of people that they do cold calling and then all of a sudden they get very excited because someone actually wants to listen to them, and they go off, spend hours pitching to them, and then the person goes, well, that's great, it's very interesting, but I can't buy from you. My company's not interested in this. Ladies and gentlemen, big sales tip for you here. Please start qualifying up front. Let me say that again. Please start qualifying before you start pitching. Find out that you're speaking to the right person. Find out you're speaking to someone who's actually got a need for what you're selling. Find out if there's any urgency of how quickly they need to do it, and do they actually have the money to do the deal. If you actually start putting this bit up front and doing this first, what you'll actually find is you're left with a nice tight pipeline of really good prospects who will buy from you at some point in the future, because you found people that you've built a relationship with and you know you're speaking to the right person. Hey, they may not buy from you right now, but at least you know it's someone who does fit what you're trying to sell. You've got the right person and you understand what's going on for them. If you don't do this, you're going to end up wasting a lot of time. I look at people who have very poor conversion rates and they go, oh, you know, I've done this pitch, I've done that, customer sounded really interested, and then they just keep stalling me. And they're stalling you because they're often you're not speaking to the right person in the first place, or you're speaking to a company that, while they do love and would love to invest in you, they're never ever going to have the money because they're not the right type of company that you should be selling to. So you've got to make sure that you qualify up front and start doing this properly, because you're only wasting your own time afterwards. And what we realise in life, time is the only resource that actually runs out. You can only ever spend that minute once. You never get that minute back again. And if you're wasting all those minutes on people that are never ever going to buy from you, then you're actually hurting yourself. So I really encourage you to make sure you start qualifying up front and investing the time. So, you know, the four things for me, I mean, there's hundreds of different qualification models out there. And, you know, if you work with me over time, I would share more of them with you. But for me, I use actually a very simple 4-step qualifying process up front. Authority. Am I speaking to someone who's in authority to make the decision? Need. Am I speaking to someone who actually needs what I'm selling? Do they need my service? Do they need my product? Is there actually a fit here? Urgency. Are they likely to buy quickly, medium term, long term, or never? So I know what action to take afterwards. And money. Do they have budget now? Do they have budget that has to be spent in the very near future? Or is it something they're going to have to invest in, so I know what I've got to do to really justify to them of why they need to spend money with me? So, you know, I call that ANUM, A-N-U-M, authority, need, urgency and money. I'm going to put on another bonus video where I'm going to go into that in more detail with you as well, so please make sure you watch that afterwards. But, you know, start qualifying up front, just using that basic model. If anything, you know, there's a lot more models than that, but just start using that basic one up front. Okay, so next step, value. Building value. You have to build value with your customers. And it took me a very long time to really understand what building value meant. And I still see a lot of confusion out there because it's not a real phrase. You don't go, I'm now building value with you. You don't say that as a human. It's something that just naturally happens if you're doing your job correctly. But what you need to do is you need to take time to find out what the person you're speaking to, what problem have they got, what's giving them a headache, what's keeping them up at night, or what is it that they're so excited and they're staying up at night about because they're dreaming of achieving something. What can you do if you know they've got a problem they're going to move away from, or they've got a goal they want to move towards? How can you help them by them investing in your services or your goods? How can you help them achieve that quicker than they can if they don't use you? And that is what building value is about. You've got to take the time to really understand that people, as I say, will always be prepared to spend money, but they will spend money on their terms because they understand why they need something. And you know, whatever you're selling is actually a vehicle to help them achieve that. And that's what they've got to understand when you're speaking to them. So if you phone up and just go, hey, buy my stuff, and start ramming your pitch down the throat saying, and you know, here's my 10 features and benefits, blah blah blah, they're probably going to just sit there listening to you like going, what the hell is this loony on about? Whereas if you actually talk to them and actually find out, you know, what's the goals for your business, what's going on, what's keeping you up at night, as a subject matter expert in what you're selling, which is one of the things you need to make sure you are, if you've doing your job correctly, what you're doing is you're matching, say, your features and benefits, you're hanging them onto what they're telling you. So you know, if they're going, oh, you know, I've got problem A, B, C, but I want to achieve X, Y, Z, well, what you're doing is you're finding out how your product helps with moving away from A, B, C, and it helps them achieve X, Y, Z. Does that make sense? It's really important that you find out these things and make it relevant to them. You're there to be their trusted advisor. You're there to assist them. You're there to help make their life easier. You don't phone up just to slam something and ram it down their throats. It's because it's relevant to their business needs. It's relevant to them. It's relevant to why they need it. And it's establishing that need is how you're going to build value. And you've got to take the time to do this. You've got to make sure that they understand exactly why they bought your service. They've got to understand exactly why your service helps them achieve it. Because that's what they're going to go around and start telling other people around, which in turn is going to help build your reputation and sell more. So there's a lot tied into this. You've really got to make sure that you do this correctly. So again, I'll put a bonus video on giving some examples of building value. I've got plenty of examples of that. I could talk about apples and bananas and oranges and bananas to you. I'm sure you've seen The Wolf of Wall Street, where he starts going on about sell me this pen. It's understanding what actually is going on there. It's actually understanding how to answer that question, sell me this pen. And it's all about the value, establishing a need and showing them how you're going to help that person get there quicker than anyone else, help them achieve it quicker than anything else that they could do by using you. Okay, so we've established the value. Now, again, find a mistake often people meet here. They do a great job in building value, and then they go straight to a close. When we're not quite there yet. There's another step we need to do just to guarantee that we're going to get this deal, and that's actually make an offer. We want to make an irresistible offer to our clients, so they know exactly what they're going to get from you, exactly why they're buying it, exactly how much it costs, and it's setting out all the actual expectations of what they're going to get. Such an important step that people get lazy at this point and they forget to do it because they think they've got the deal in the bag. What you actually need to do is actually be the complete opposite and go the extra mile at this point, because I guarantee you, if you're a salesperson going that extra mile at this point, again, the value, the trust is all there. Where if they've told you if a customer's told you they don't want ABC, you make sure that you document that in the process, in your offer. If they've told you they want XYZ, you make sure that you document that in your offer. You then explain how your offer is going to help them move away from ABC. It's going to help them understand how they're going to achieve XYZ. You're going to go so beyond the call of duty. The excitement of their customer is huge. You're making them feel special. They're going, oh, I've got this massive headache, and this guy's come and given me the painkiller, and it's there, it's in front of me. I want it. I'm going to take it. You're helping them get really excited about this. You're helping turn their dreams into reality. You're helping getting rid of their headaches with this painkiller. You're giving them specifically what they want. And that's ultimately what sales is find out what they want and go give it to them. But again, it's a key part of this process that's often left out. You've got to make sure that you give them exactly what they want and you've documented it properly, because you can have these discussions and they can forget what they've told you already, because to them it's these are all random thoughts that are going around in their head, and then all of a sudden you've taken all of this information and turned it into an offer where they're going to be reading it and going, wow, this is unbelievable, this is really going to help me get what I want. So don't be lazy at this point. Make sure you do it. And the other side to do it as well is to make sure that when they reflect back on, say you're selling a service where it's a continuality or a renewal, you want to make sure that when you're discussing the ongoing business, you've got something to refer back to, that look, you invested this money with me, did we achieve what we set out to do? And then they've got something to measure it against. Because if you actually smashed the goals of what the original offer was about, you're not going to have any problem renewing with them, and you have to establish more value with them. But if you don't take the time to do that, again, when it comes to renewal, they might forget why they even bought with you in the first place, and that's going to be a complete nightmare, because you don't want to be losing customers that you've already got to buy from you, because they're the easiest ones to sell to, again, in theory. And if you lose them, they're actually going to become the hardest people for you to win back, and that's something you really don't want to be getting into. So we've gone through, you're super excited, you're doing your prospecting, you're qualifying up front, you're building value, you're making offers. We come to the close, the magic. This is where the exciting part happens, the exchange, the moment where we make money, the moment where we sign deals. Woohoo, the exciting part. So I just want to tell you a quick story about earlier in my career again. Before my sales career actually started, I used to work for a big retailer. on part of university when I was at university as a weekend job to earn some extra money, and it was a big household warehouse retailer, you know, that sold bathing equipment, lights, gardening equipment, power tools. It was all that kind of stuff. And it was one Sunday morning, standing there, woman comes in holding a baby, looks very distressed, angry looking husband in tow. Normally at the time I wasn't too bothered, but I thought, well, let's go find out what's going on here. So I actually said, "Excuse me, madam, can I help you?" And she turned around and she went, "Oh, thank you. You know, last night we had a complete nightmare. My son went into the bathroom and he somehow managed to jam the door handle locked, and because it's only a little room and tiled, we couldn't get the door unlocked. We couldn't bash the door open. My husband couldn't do it because of the tiles. He could have knocked our child over, he could have hit his head, he could have fallen, hit his head on the toilet or the bath, could have knocked himself out. We just couldn't get that door open. We don't know how on earth he managed to get the door lock wedged closed, but in the end we had to get the fire brigade, so we had all the sirens coming out, all our neighbours looking. It was all really embarrassing of what was going on. And you know, this woman, you know, she's completely unloading on me, and I was standing going, okay. So you know, she was like, oh, wow, someone's listening to me, because the angry husband clearly wasn't listening to her. He just looked very embarrassed and didn't want to know what was going on. So I turned around to her and I said, "So what you're looking for then is a lock that your child could use?" And she went, "Yes, it's exactly what we need, a door handle that my child could use." So instead of saying lock back to her, I said, "Fine, we'll get you a door handle that your child can use." So I'm no expert on door handles. I wasn't then and I'm not now, but I walked to the door handle aisle. I looked at one that I felt a child could open. I could see that the one she was talking about was one where it had a lock in the middle of a round doorknob, so I understood why it gets stuck. So I found one with an actual door handle where I thought, yes, a young 3-year-old child can use that. I picked it up. I said, "How does this one look to you, madam?" She looked at it and went, "That looks fantastic." Took it off me. Off she went. Bought it. Now, very, very basic interaction there, but a lot going on in sales. You know, right from, was I genuinely excited when I got that interaction? You know, at the time, I'm going to be honest with you, I was had a stinking hangover because I'd been out the night before, as you did when you're a bit younger. But as far as that woman concerned, I was super excited. When I spoke to her, did I qualify what she was looking for? Yes. Did I understand the value in what it was? Yes. You know, there was the value going on in there. Well, sorry, let's go back. Did I qualify her? Yes. She had a need that had to be sorted there and then because her child was in danger. She was a buyer. She was buying today. Did I establish value? Yes, because I understood that the subject she was talking about was very passionate. She was talking about the security of her child. So she was very passionate about the subject. Was she in pain? Yes. Her child was in danger, so she had to make sure that nothing else could go wrong. She was also embarrassed in front of her neighbours. She also had an angry husband next to her, so there was some pain elements going on there. At the same time, was it urgent? Could this ever happen again? Absolutely not. So when I realised what she was looking for was it wasn't just a door handle or a door lock, she was looking for a child security device. What I was able to do is actually offer her something that completely met the needs of what she was looking for. The point of when it closed, I didn't even have to ask her for the close, I just put the product in front of her and she went off and bought it. So do you see how we followed the closer's code in that example? And as I said, I've given you a video below where I actually take the cheat sheet out and give you more examples of how this closer's code works. It's, you know, I give you examples of closing techniques. I'm not going to sit here today and tell you the lines to use to close a deal. I do give you one example later on in the other bonus videos, but what I need you to understand first of all is how to close a deal before I start telling you what to say, because those lines will only work provided that you follow the closer's code to do things correctly in the first place. You have to do everything that it just makes it so easy for them to buy from you, and at the same time you've really got to make sure that you're completely ethical in everything what you're doing. You've got to make sure that when you want that magical exchange, that moment of when it all comes together, that you've built this level of excitement through the process. You let the prospect be committed to you and show some consistency in how they're behaving. That means they're going to buy from you and they're going to be really excited about buying from you. So there you have it, the 6 steps of the closer's code. Motivated. Be excited about what you're doing. Ditch any negativity around you. Don't listen to other people. Don't listen to rubbish bullshit excuses. Have a genuine belief that you want to help people, believe in what you want to do, understand who it helps, realise the value in what you're doing, be consistent in your behaviours, be unashamed about promoting yourself, know it's your duty and obligation to sell, and genuinely help people, because that's what's going to help you to get paid well for what you're doing. Prospect, be prepared to put the donkey work in and make the right number of calls you need to make so success is inevitable. Make it so success can be the only outcome. Increase your chances of success by qualifying up front. Make sure that you're only pitching to people who are actually going to buy from you, who are only actually interested in what you're doing. When you do go into a pitch, make sure it's a value building exercise where you're finding out what they want, and what you're trying to do is move to the next stage where you give them exactly what they want at a fair price. Because if you do that, the closing is actually just happens if you do these steps correctly. Hey, if it doesn't happen straight away, there are other things you can do when you get to the close box, but you cannot use this close box until you've gone through this sequence before and ticked all of these boxes, because how are you going to close something if you don't know what you're trying to close in the first place? So, I take you back as we've gone through this closer's code now, where you've got the 6 steps, and I just want to remind you of that golf analogy. Remember, sales is like golf. When you putt the ball, that's when you get your score. Sales is the same. When you close, when you putt, that's when you get the score. You want to make sure that when you are putting, you're putting on par. You're doing it in the right number of shots. You know, you've gone through this closer's code and done it in the most effective manner. Likewise, on a golf course, you have a par recommended number of shots. You want to make sure you're par or below. You don't want to be getting bogeys where you're wasting time. How many shots did it take you to get to the green? Were you able to play the ball wherever it landed? Have you got that sales savvy to know that if the ball lands on the green, on the fairway, how do you get it to the green? If it lands in the rough, what's the next shot you take? If it lands in the bunker, how do you get yourself back on track? But ideally, the real expert is getting a hole in one. When you take your tee shot, how do you get straight all the way through to the ball being putted all in one go? So there's a lot of similarities between golf and selling, and just to give you an idea. But if you cannot putt, if you cannot close, you don't score. And it's the scoring that is the important part in sales. If you don't do that, then you don't get anywhere. And just remember, everything you're doing fits into one of 3 things. Is your mindset correct? Are you in that mindset where you believe in what you do, you understand who it helps, you realise the value of what you do, you're consistent in your behaviour of achieving it, you're unashamed about promoting yourself, you know it's your duty and your obligation to do it, you genuinely love helping people because you want to get paid for doing it. You want to follow a structure. You want to make sure that if you know what the top guy's doing in your team or the top salesperson's doing, how can you follow? How can you model what they're doing so you can take on their success as well? What is it? You know, how do they approach their first call? How many appointments do they do? How do they close? What is it they do to specifically get there? Finally, salesmanship. And this is the biggest tip I can give you to take away from this. Every day, invest in yourself as a sales professional. If you want to be truly the best at what you do, then you have to invest in yourself. If you don't invest in yourself, then how on earth are you going to become the best at what you want to do? And in any field, you know, look how long a doctor goes to university for. Look how long a lawyer goes to university for. Think how many hours a footballer does before they become famous. Think how many hours of practice a band makes. Sales is no different. It's your art. It's what you need to do to make sure that you're the top of your game. And the biggest tip, the takeaway I can give you, take one thing every day, learn it, apply it, make a note, add it to your sales toolkit. Whatever you do, you need to take massive action, because that's what's going to give you the results that you want. It's absolutely vital that you don't just sit. You know, knowledge is only power when you use it. You know, it's very easy. You know, in my career, I've sat and looked at spreadsheets. On the spreadsheet, I'm a multi-millionaire. But the fact is I haven't taken enough of the right action to actually make that happen yet at this point in my career. I've had a very successful career because I have gone the extra mile. but it's all about ongoing with the learning, that you've got to take massive action to get the results. So having watched this, please take the time to implement it. Implement it into your business, implement it into your day job, whatever it is you're doing, because it will help you close more. And when you start closing more and you realise you're helping people, you realise you're going to get a high level of satisfaction and you're going to be well paid for doing it. So that is the Closers Code. I hope that makes complete sense to you. Please do watch this as many times as you need to, because you're going to learn something new each time. Success won't happen overnight, but I guarantee you the moment you start taking action towards it, it will. Now, just to supplement what I've done in this video, I've actually included some bonus videos below. So the first video is actually the Closers Code cheat sheet, where you can download that as a PDF. What I wanted to do is do that, but also I've recorded a video where I actually give you some further examples of how I've actually used the Closers Code in sales in my career, and giving you an example of when it didn't work for me. Or when I say it didn't work, it did work for me, because it stopped me wasting time on someone who was never ever going to buy from me. I talked about how selfish motivation is very important, so I've given you a bonus video again about how you can make sure that you're building your selfish motivation in the correct manner. Because again, if you haven't got the right attitude, if you're not super excited, you're making everything else you do 10 times harder. I've put together another video called Metric Magic. I talked about understanding the sums to know what does it take for you to make one sale. If one sale is 5 appointments, well, how many qualifications do you need to do? And how many cold calls do you need to make to get the metrics? Because then you can multiply it. If you know what it takes to make one sale, and you need to make 10 sales, well, you multiply those figures out, because there's a science behind it. And then the more you start doing this, the better conversion rates at each stage will be. We then moved on. We talked about qualifying and how you can do new well qualifying. So again, I put a video in to give you more examples of a very simple qualification technique that I did. We're using authority, need, urgency and money. The next video we then start looking at is how to build value. So we look at, I give you some examples of some very basic things, looking at apples and bananas and how you can use that as a way to build value between humans and humans. Another great bonus video on irresistible offers, about looking at how do you structure an offer where you can look at help someone move away from ABC types of pains to pleasures of XYZ, and how do you structure that. And finally, I do give you one closing technique. It's surprisingly simple. It's the 3-step close that I use. I probably use this close probably 70% of the time throughout my career. It's one I teach people most of all, and don't get me wrong, there's hundreds of closes. This just happens to be the one that is extremely effective if you use the Closers Code, because if you've done everything properly, it's a very simple process for you to follow at the end of that call. So we've got all of that. Wow, there's a lot there. So we've got the Closers Code main video, we've done all the bonus videos. I've actually included a couple of extra bonus offers for you as well. So I've included my Obliterate Your Fear of Selling course. That was a live presentation I delivered a few years ago, where it talks about 3 things you can do that's going to really help you build your confidence in what you're selling. It goes into something at a time I was calling the sales boss method. It's a very powerful thing, but it's about really how you structure in your own head to be able to tell people what it is you do, that when you start understanding that, the confidence level when you're explaining it is much higher. Another bonus as well I've put in there for you is nail that sales interview, because in sales, you're going to sometimes, if you're working for people, you are going to want to go and chase the money and get the best job. Now, I've recruited, I don't know how many sales interviews I've done. I've done thousands. Getting the right salesperson is so key as a sales manager, because a mistake is very expensive. Because if you get a rep that doesn't onboard quickly and start performing, you have to replace them, and you have to then go through the interview process again. So as a tough sales recruiter, what I've done is I've written a short document on how you can actually nail that sales interview. What I'm looking for someone when they come in for a sales interview with me, it's going to give me exactly what I want to know whether they're a good performer or not. So I'm giving you that book as well. I'm also giving you access to my Facebook group. You just need to click and sign up and join that. So again, if you've got any questions, you can ask me. I have also put on there a live support address, which is also part of this product, that if you've got any questions once you've gone through all the modules, I will also listen to, read any emails you send me, and I'm happy to put together a bespoke video for you if that's what's needed. I'll give you a detailed reply. Hey, we might even jump on Skype and discuss it that way. That's absolutely fine with me. As I said, I really truly believe in what I'm doing. I really genuinely want to help you, and I want to genuinely make sure that you do see the value in this product. So do email me and contact me if something's not quite making sense to you, and we'll get that cleared up straight away, because I want you to understand how this closers code is genuinely going to help you massively succeed. So what else is there anything else that I need to discuss with you? No. I think that's it for now. So we've got the 6 stages of the closers code. Go implement straight away, and thanks very much for investing some time in listening to me. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you see this is something you can use straight away, and I look forward to speaking with you real soon.